Welcome back to Things That Bug Me. Today I have with me Jochen, who is a pretty long-standing acquaintance. I guess we've known each other for about 3 or 4 years. We met through Rebel Wisdom originally. So he is here to talk about something that bugs him. And so without any further ado, Jochen, I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself maybe a little bit and say what bugs you. I may possibly interrupt you just for a clarifying question here or there, but otherwise the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks so much, Eric. Yeah, so just briefly about me, I'm in my late 40s. I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s in Germany. And in 2008, we relocated to Manhattan in the US. And initially, I really felt, things are pretty good over here. It really spoke to my sensitivities. But especially over the last few years, one of the things that has gotten more and more annoying is dog poops. It's like people leaving their little pets remains, or not remains, but like what they leave behind, where there's a clear ordinance of the city, pick up after your dog. And I think for a while this worked pretty well. Like seeing most people when they have their dog does its business. People take out a plastic bag, pick it up. But it seems to me that over the last couple of years, it has gotten worse to the point where now it is almost impossible to walk along a sidewalk in the city and not have to really kind of be very mindful where you're walking, which is particularly annoying for New Yorkers who are really kind of like known for their kind of very aggressive walking style, wanting to get from A to B as quickly as possible, which when I walk in the city, I frequently do. And then having to switch my attention constantly to the ground to be like, God damn it, another one is really kind of it is pretty annoying. And so that bugs me. And it also has this kind of feeling for me like, don't these people have any respect for their fellow city dwellers? Because yes, it is annoying to pick it up. I get that. One of the reasons maybe why I don't have a dog. But if you want to have the benefit of having this kind of wonderful companion with you and like, in your house and you have someone to play with, wonderful, do something about it, right? Or at least be willing to do this, certainly this one extra thing, in part also to treat your fellow New Yorkers with some respect, please.
So you mentioned that there are ordinances regarding this. Do you know what is the penalty for failing to pick up your pet's poop?
So I believe it is actually in the like I don't know. I don't know. That's the first thing I have to admit. But I believe it's in the hundreds of dollars. My thinking would be like 200 to 500, something like this. However, when you get caught, and New York has not been known for, how to say that, persecuting petty criminals these days. I don't know to what extent this has made the rounds, but so many other things have in the last few years become, well, almost like a constant pun against the mayor's office. First, I guess de Blasio and now Mayor Adams, for just like being very lenient towards like a lot of behavior that really there was a time in New York where I think
low
a lot of that would have been
level antisocial
yeah,
behavior
this
kind of thing. Yeah.
all kinds of antisocial behavior where like now people are just like, oh, well, I guess the city is becoming one of these places. And so maybe one of the reasons why I'm deeply, yeah, have this experience of like why is that it really denigrates what I feel is a great city by giving people this license to I just don't give a damn. I mean,
Foul it. Yeah.
I could go into all kinds of like now things that bug me that are in that vein, but let's stick with this one issue, right? Let's not explode it into even more.
So, okay, so something else comes up for me, the idea of enforcement, right? So as you say, there is an ordinance, but there's also, you spoke to this also, there's also a responsibility to our fellow man living in communal spaces kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But both of these things come up. And so
Yeah.
there is an absence of enforcement on the one hand, right? Not enough people getting fined, therefore feeling they can get away with it. But then there's also the wanting to get away with it in the first place, not feeling a responsibility to pick up your dog poop just because it's the right thing to do. And so I mean, I guess this leads us into part two. As you know, the second part of this is like what is the hook in you that actually, you know what I mean, that gets fired up, that gets triggered by this thing. And so I wonder, is it the city's failure to enforce its ordinances that pisses you off? Is it the lack of concern, you know, like the inconsiderateness of the people doing it? Is it that which pisses you off, or is it a little bit of both? For me, I have to say, I think it would probably be the latter more. But for you, what is it?
So in the moment when I see it, especially if I step into it, like when I see it and I have to change path, that's already kind of this feeling of like, oh, not again, like another one. And so there's like I would say there's even like a very basic kind of dislike of a certain disorder, especially of the disgusting kind. Because yeah, it's just like having shit around everywhere is just not a pleasant state of the world, let's say. So there's definitely this very surface level bit. But then I would say indeed it is the combination that people do this, that is to say they just leave it lying around, and then that and now I think we're getting somewhere. So like yes, there are people who are supposed to probably enforce this and just signal to the people in the culture, hey, this is just not okay behavior. And as I'm saying that, I certainly realize, well, I could be one of these people. Not that I want to be
I was just
a
about
cop or
to
like
ask you, if
whatever.
you saw someone's dog pooping on the pavement and then walking off and leaving the poop there, what do you do as a citizen? Do you confront that
Yes.
person, or do you tisk tisk tisk, you know, shake your head and walk away? I'm curious as to how you feel you might respond in that spot.
I certainly have on a few occasions in the past said something, but I think there have been way more occasions when I didn't say something to the person who didn't pick up. And it's very interesting. I think part of it is that I have given up, that I think, okay, this culture is already so far, the Overton window just includes letting crap lying around. It is pointless saying something. And of course, sometimes I may also feel, okay, saying something with a particular dog and dog owner may actually get me into real trouble, and so I don't say something for that reason. And as cowardly as I feel saying it, I would at least say that that is a legitimate reason, right? It's like not every fight is worth picking.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly, like if someone like an older woman or like whatever with a small little poodle does it, I could at least say something. And why don't I? And so I think part of the frustration, this thing with the this bugs me, comes from my whatever it is that leads me to an action. Because if I felt I can act on this, well, then I would just act, and then it would maybe not dissolve, but at least I would then have acted. And so this feeling of I don't know if it's chosen, but certainly not. I have not escaped the helplessness in
Mm,
that situation. I feel helpless, and I haven't escaped it yet.
mm.
And yeah, it's really fucking annoying to feel here is a situation that where the situation bugs me, and I feel there's nothing I can do. Because I mean, what am I supposed to do? Take a picture and send it to like the police or what? It's just, like all of that is
Mm.
so pointless. So yeah, it's this sense of there's nothing I can do, and it's almost like you have like a mental account of all the things that do bug you, and each time when I see another turd on the sidewalk, another coin or whatever is added to that account, and just like it adds up, right? It's just like this kind of, well, don't no one please understand me as saying this is like political oppression, but it is oppressive. It is certainly a pressure on the nervous system of like, this is a really annoying thing and there's nothing I can do. So that
Yeah.
experience is there.
So I wrote down earlier on while you were speaking, peer pressure. And when I
Mhm.
wrote it down, I meant it in the sense of um, one would think that the pressure of those around would shame people into picking up their dog poop, right? Like that kind of peer pressure would shame people in, but that seems not to work. But you're describing, but then later on, what you've just been talking about is sort of a different kind of peer pressure, in that you choose not to call people out for whatever reason, right? The possible social consequences of doing so. And that this actually leads the thing that bugs you, people's dogs pooping on the street and they're not cleaning it up. There's an extra layer of buggage on top of this in the sort of self-recrimination of not, you know, being a voice speaking out against the thing that bugs you in the first place, right? So it's two layers of being bugged. And so this idea of having given up, I think this is very interesting, because I think probably a lot of people feel this in a lot of different ways in a lot of different domains. Like this sense of giving up. There's no point me taking a stand, because, you know, what difference does it make? Choose your battles is a perfectly legitimate argument. You can't have every single fight, but then the fights you don't have, then the fights you choose not to have, you beat yourself up for not having them anyway, right? And
let's at least say it's
powerlessness and impotence then leads you not to act out of a sense of learned powerlessness and impotence, right? Like not even out of a sense. So I think this is a very interesting spiral. I think it's a very interesting cycle.
And it would be very different if, for instance, at any point in the last 5 to 10 years, I would have sat down, ideally maybe with a number of people, to really kind of have my thinking checked, and we like have a conversation and we all agree wholeheartedly, like really, after integrating everything that we generate in this dialogue, and we all agree this is not a fight worth having. And if I had reached that point, maybe I would feel now differently, but I certainly have never done that, right? And so like this, the fact that I'm not fighting back is not a conscious choice. It is a very unconscious, like, meh. And that's certainly what bugs me, right? It is a situation where the object level, the immediate situation that I see annoys me, and the fact that I'm not fighting back is not something that I have sufficiently gone through, articulated, and figured out. Do I want to fight back, or do I not want to fight back? It's just like, I'm not fighting back, and I still feel it annoys me, which kind of suggests to me I want to fight back, right? This annoyance is a feeling I want to fight back. But then that I don't fight back is just the reality. And so like, what the fuck is going on? I am annoyed and I'm not fighting back. Fuck. And it really kind of creates this very strange experience with it.
Yeah,
yes.
Dissonance kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, I get all of that. And so the fighting back thing, the not being worth fighting. Well, I mean, having the streets free of dog poop is a worthwhile goal, right? Like, it is disgusting, especially stepping in it. And then when someone else has stepped in it, it's now smeared out over a larger area, make it easier for other people to step in, right? It is so, and it wouldn't take, because again, this is so interesting, right? Because if a significant proportion of the population regularly called out people that they saw doing it, say, hey, pick up your poop. And it doesn't have to be any more than that, right? It doesn't have to be a lecture. It doesn't have to be diseases, children, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have to be anything. Just, hey, pick up your poop. Yeah, there's other people live here. Pick up your poop, right? Like that's all it has to be. And if a significant proportion of the people did that, then there would be no more poop on the streets. And so it seems as though almost nobody is actually doing that, hence the buildup of poop on the streets.
Correct. And that's what I mean. It's like with the emperor that has no clothes, right? Like, there is just this culture of, oh, we all have to keep our mouths shut. And well, it's maybe not have to keep our mouths shut, but like, not saying anything against someone who does this is the appropriate response.
Polite thing to do somehow. Yeah.
Exactly. There's just like this, and everyone on some level feels that is not what they want to do, but they do it anyway.
Sorry, I'm still here. Camera glitch is all. Yeah, it's interesting. This came up in another call with a friend of mine, with Simon, my friend Simon. This idea that these rules just kind of come into being, or these ways of doing things just kind of come into being, and then just persist, just perpetuate without ever being questioned or examined or whatever, even when they long since outlived whatever usefulness they might have had at some point. that continue to just be followed blindly.
And at least I can say, if you still want some humoristic elements in this episode. So my husband and I, because he feels, I think, equally, maybe even more strongly than I do about the annoyance, the initial annoyance. And we have had quite many conversations in a very humoristic, like way of what could we do about it. And we came up with all kinds of like technical things that you could do. Oh, maybe there should be like people in buildings that have like a lot of like sidewalk in front of them should just be mandated to have a drone, and then like whenever, and there's AI and it detects whenever someone does that, and then the drone flies after the guy and takes pictures and whatever, and then sends it automatically to that, right? Or how about automatic sprinklers? As soon as there's a detection that like this happened, like literally the sidewalk will be power washed, and of course then other people will complain, right? So but we really, and to the point of like, maybe at some point, if I was a private detective and had enough time, I would just like literally wait for that to happen, and then I would pick it up, put it in a nice envelope, and then throw it into the person's mailbox or like whatever. Just like, seriously, totally crappy ideas, right? They're all crappy. They're part illegal, whatever, because surveillance.
Well, whatever, but they're creating more controversy. They're creating more karma, right? They're not actually resolving.
No, exactly. But the point is to go to the length of having that conversation. I realized just how much energy must there already be for me to be willing to spend. I don't know, we've had like at least 10 of these conversations, each for like 15 minutes. So like 2.5 hours of time wasting on a topic that tells me that I really kind of am on some level fired up about this. And it's probably, as you said at the beginning, it's probably not just about the poop, but it is about this wider culture issue of why is it that people allow a wonderful place, a truly wonderful place, where other people also are working their asses off to keep it in good shape, right? It's not as though everyone is contributing to the decay. There are people on occasion cleaning the sidewalks. There are people picking up the trash. There are people doing all kinds of things that improve the locality and how it looks and everything. And why is it that there are yet also people who have the opposite tendency, and then no one says anything? It's just like about the trash on the ground, or people doing all kinds of funny stuff on the subway, etc.
Well, I was just going to say, you could also view the dog poop not as a problem in and of itself, but as a symptom of a larger issue of neglect, not caring about your surroundings, not caring about your fellow man, all of this kind of thing. So part 3 of this, and you've actually segued quite nicely into it naturally. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So part 3 of this is to try and do a little bit of alchemy and see if we can't find in this thing something that a lesson or a nugget of some kind that's maybe just hidden underneath the poop somewhere. So
I will. I promise you, I will not check under actual poop. I'm not going to.
Well, one thing that occurs to me, and this will give you a chance to maybe have a think as well while I mention this. So one thing that occurs to me is the idea of, and I don't mean this as a vigilante, punitive kind of thing, like all of the things that you mentioned, putting the poo through someone's letterbox, having sprinklers come on, this kind of thing, all feels a bit punishy. Do you know what I mean? And while I'm not saying there is no place for punishment in this world ever, I'm not suggesting that. But for this, it feels like whatever alchemy there is to be performed here, whatever transformation, it's got to come from the self-awareness and the realization that, hey, actually leaving my dog poop on the pavement here, it befouls the environment for everyone, right, including me, actually, right? So I was thinking something along the lines of, this could be an impetus for groups of people to come together, groups of people like yourself and your husband and others, right, who are actually irritated by this thing to the point where they're having conversations in their own time about what might be done about it. This could be an opportunity for groups to form around something that they care about, and a community grows, right? Like there's the dogs poop on the street, and as a consequence, a community of people who care about dogs pooping on the street and want to come together and kindly and compassionately figure out how might we instill in pet owners in this neighborhood an understanding of the importance of picking up their poop, right? Like, rather than policing it per se, or that could be part. You could have people in, I don't know, doggy printed vests or something, right? Just on the streets in their spare time. Hey, pick that up, please. Are you sorry, just one more quick thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Ariely's work on behavioral economics, right? But these little tiny nudges reminding people that they have obligations, responsibilities, social contracts, all of this kind of thing. Not lecturing them, just a little nudge, just a little reminder. It's all that most people need to, you know what, you're right, I'll do that.
Yeah. I don't want to open that can of worms. I would simply suggest, if you haven't read about the not and here's the thing, I still trust the spirit of Dan Ariely's work, but since I know someone who knows him very well, I also know that like there's quite some
Done a bit of
question marks
fiddling,
that
I've
have been
heard
put
this as
around
well.
some of his findings, because let's just say he has maybe produced some dog poop of his own where he didn't pick up the pieces quite well enough. And so that being said, I think for me, some of the nuggets are, in every population, some people will probably be lazy bums. I may complain about that, but that is probably just true. And to the extent that the other people do not call out where this laziness leads to degradation of the commons will degrade, right? Like wherever people are cognitively or physically or whatever lazy, and the laziness is allowed to persist in a way that degrades the commons and no one calls it out, guess what? That will happen. And to the extent that, as you said, dog poop on the sidewalk might be considered almost like a signal of how permissible is it really in this community to have this laissez-faire, lazy, whatever approach. And so to almost think of the dog poop really as a signal of, okay, here's a reminder, I am called in this community to point out where I feel other people's laziness, not just with dog poop, but really broadly, contributes to the degradation of the commons. And then comes the question, how do I point this out? And the first thing that comes to mind, is much less punitive, but it would be increasing the signal function. And this would be, and like seriously, now that I'm thinking about it, I almost want to go to like a pet store around here and figure out if they would be at least interested in selling something like this, and then maybe ask what are they called, a material engineer or something, to figure out how this would work. Would be a flaming red 2-foot circular something material that you put over the dog poop that is biodegradable, where okay, within a week or two, the rain will just like degrade the material. It will just wash away. It's made out of, I don't know, it's not celluloid, but like something like plant-based material. But at least for 2 weeks, here's a big red spot on the sidewalk that says, here was a dog poop.
That could be a nice little business for someone. If making those red blankets could be a nice little business for someone.
Exactly. First of all, no one will step into the dog poop. They will just step, if they step on anything, just onto this red material, at least for the next few days.
Sorry. I need to ask a quick question here. Who do you envisage putting these little red blankets on?
I would buy them.
Okay, so you're saying like the general population has them in their pocket, and whenever they see a poop, throw a red blanket on it. Okay.
And the purpose would be really, okay, this is getting out of hand, people. Because if on any given day you go along the sidewalk and you see like 8 of these red circles, plus it would also tell you, here's a location where a lot of people do that. And so there's just a bit more awareness maybe to look for, oh, is someone doing that actually here? Which kind of increases the signaling function. And to then maybe even print onto the circle, see this is happening, call it out, right? To have but like maybe even a slightly more positive message, just like, hey, as a reminder, don't do this.
I understand what you mean about increasing the signaling function, and actually, I like that. I like that a lot. this is something that I've noticed some places do with speed limit signs, right? They have, it's not actually a camera. There's nothing punishing you there. They just have a thing which actually flashes on and tells you what your speed is, right? Each car that goes by, the thing flashes up with what your speed is, and it's red if you're over the speed limit and green if you're under it. And that is a very, very, very effective piece of signaling to get you to slow down if you're going too fast. I find much more effective than any other kind of speed sign.
For at least for most people. And that's the thing, right? If 90% of people act well, and they also then have the signaling to other people, then I think the very few lazy or whatever less socially inclined people have much less of a chance of, like, with their behavior, to degrade the commons.
And I mean, and also to the people who are responsible for the poops being there in the first place, the red spots make them all that much more visible. And for some of them anyway, it might just increasing that signal. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's a lot of dog poos around here. You know what? I'm going to start picking mine up. I'm making this worse, right? For some people, maybe not all people will respond like that, but some portion of that person, of those people would. Yeah, I like this idea of increasing the loudness of the signal, the immediate loudness of the signal. I like this.
And of course, you could then even probably mix it up with some humorous messages, like, putting a clown onto this thing and being like, "Hey, you clown, this was you, right?" Or like whatever, and just like, because it doesn't have to be punitive so much as it is just like pointing out, seriously, dude. Right, without even necessarily saying
just a picture of someone standing there over the poop looking at it disapprovingly.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Or like, anyway, that goes too far. I just, okay, no, one joke too far, so I won't make it. But like, yes, you like, exactly, right? A humorous way of looking at it and saying, is this for real?
Yeah. I like it. All right. Anything else you want to add? Any other little nuggets?
Do you know any? Do you know any chemists or material? Like,
I sort of trained as a chemist. I mean, I did undergraduate chemistry. I wouldn't call myself a chemist, but I did undergraduate degree chemistry.
So, people, the formula for the dog poop blanket will be in the show notes below. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no, I'm not up for no, I'm not. Yeah, no. No, I'm not a synthetic chemist. Really not. Yeah, no, as a material science challenge, something that's going to hang around long enough to do the job of covering up the poop while it degrades, while itself not degrading, and not sliding around and getting, I don't know. It doesn't sound like and it's got to be cheap as well, right? Like, they can't cost $50 each, or no one's going to buy them, right?
No, but quite honestly, let me see. Like, seriously, like, let's do a little bit of market research. If they come in, let's say, a 10-pack, how much would I pay for a 10-pack of these blankets? I'd say like $5 easily, maybe even 10. In part, really, to say, in my neighborhood, at least, wherever I walk, I will do the signaling function from now on, at least for a while, to see like if it kind of improves the situation. And maybe once the sidewalk is completely blasted with red blankets, maybe even by that time the city ordinance people will understand, okay, we have to watch out at least here. That's the other thing, right? Because it also attracts the actual eye of the law, I think, to say people are raising this issue, which and that's the other. Just like if you complain loudly enough about shenanigans on the subway, all of a sudden you have the governor of New York sending state troopers into the subway and saying, okay, we need to take care of this. Right? Well, it does require some signal for attention to other attention to come to
one of the things I liked about this signal magnifying thing was that it doesn't necessarily involve, because one larger issue, this is more than a thing that bugs me, right? This is like a meta thing that bugs me, if you like, is our how quickly we go to the authorities to sort our problems out for us, right? Like, rather than take it upon ourselves to sort it out within the community or among the individuals concerned or whatever. I'm not saying all things can be sorted out on that, but an awful lot of things can. And like everything gets handed off though to the police and to the Crown Prosecution Service and to the teacher and to the boss or whatever, right? Rather than to the Human Resources Department, whatever it might be, rather than resolving our issues between ourselves. And so this idea of the red blanket, I liked it because it's it's an organic thing. It's contained among the people that are the perpetrators and the victims, if you like, if I may use such language. It's a conversation between those people, right? And it doesn't actually require the intervention of the authorities, to come and enforce ordinances and whatever. It's a body healing itself kind of thing, rather than having to go to the doctor.
That would obviously be another selling point if it was an organic material blanket. It's because it's an organic signaling device.
Yeah, and then of
maybe banana leaves. Have you ever had like this kind of sticky rice wrapped in banana leaves?
Yes.
Although then you have like banana leaves hanging all around the city. I don't know if that's much better than dog poop. So that's maybe like too much, but like
quite a lot better than dog poop, I think.
Okay. Eric, this was a lot of fun. And
yeah,
I have to say, even just like coming up with an idea that actually might do something good feels terrific. Not that it already solves the problem, right? It doesn't. But at least thinking about what could I even like investigate to solve the problem, to actually solve the problem, gives the energy that comes from the experience there's dog poop on the street a different outlet other than simply being blocked and saying, no, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. This energy that comes up in the moment, the energy comes up. I'm really fucking annoyed at this stuff. So there's energy there. And then rather to go into, yeah, but you can't do anything and you try to cut it off and put a lid on it. No. Okay, what can I do? And even that feels terrific to give that energy an outlet.
And also by doing that, by cutting it off and putting a lid on it, as you say, that energy is only going to come out in some unbidden way somewhere else in your life, right? Absolutely. In a fight with your husband or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really know exactly what this podcast is, or this show, whatever you want to call it, is going to be yet, but I don't particularly see it as being like trying to find solutions to the particular problems of the things that bug people, but the kind of thing we've done today, right, like get to something underneath it, right, which is actually what this actually is a symptom of a widespread increase in neglect, allowing degradation to happen before our eyes, kind of thing, right? Like tuning into those kinds of things. That's what I hope that's what I would really like this to be about. So thank you very much for coming on and allowing that to emerge today. That was very cool.
And it for me, it connects directly to the first episode, because for me, this kind of thing with like, oh, let other people deal with our idiosyncrasies about like time zone changes or time changes. It's the same attitude, right? And you have to at some point start feeling, oh, how is my relationship with other people actually optimized? And what do I signal that is what I want? And if I want to optimize the relationship with other people, maybe I should signal that. And one signal might be, let's give up on this stupid time zone change crap.
So let's not get that
self-disclosure. No, that's it. But I'd say self-disclosure with a dog poop blanket might be a nice way to signal, at least I care about other people not to step into this dog poop.
Yeah. I'm aware of it. I see it. I'm participating in making the signal about it loud because it's something I care about. Yeah. I like it in every way. I really like this. I really like this amplification of signaling bit.
Cool. Eric, it was lovely talking with you.
Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful evening in Spain, and I hope to talk to you sometime soon.
Speak to you again soon. Ciao, Jochen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.